to make my hair look splendid. Girl problems. Anyways, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream of the horror Blu-ray collection overview in its final part. This is going to be it for the horror Blu-ray collection. We have been doing this for probably a month, at least a month, I feel like, shelf by shelf. Every single movie gets touched, gets talked about. And we are finally down to the Italian horror section, which is pretty large, the kaiju, and the silent horror. Forgive me, I have a bunch here that I need to get into the wall that I've yet to. So I'm trying to see if there's any, real quickly, seeing if there's any Italian stuff here so that I don't miss talking about it, but I don't think there is. Yeah, so with that said, we are going to jump right in as people start rolling in. We'll get going with the Italian horror. We'll do the movies that are on the top, as we usually have. And yeah, let's get right down to it. Sorry for the lighting. There's not going to be too great of lighting down here because it's dark, but the iPhone is pretty good at adjusting. So last time we looked at the found footage horror. We went through all of that. The Japanese horror, the South Korean horror, Hong Kong horror, or Chinese, and Italiano. So right now we're starting with the Italiano, and we're starting with one of my favorite Italian directors, favorite directors of all time. That is Lucio Fulci, a man who did not always hit big on all of his films. This being one of them that isn't a masterpiece like some of his other films are. But I still enjoy this one. It has some great imagery. All Fulci films have great imagery. That's what you go into them for. A great cover here. I don't remember. Is this the one, Enigma? Is this one where, like, the spirit punishment that includes famous death by snail scene? Final horror hit of the 80s, written by Fulci, combined elements of Carrie, phenomena Suspiria with the grisly surrealism of his own past classics. When a bullied student at a New England girls' school becomes comatose after a prank gone wrong, her tormentors will suffer graphic telepathic punishment. That's right. So in the beginning, this girl is comatose, and she starts killing people with her mind, essentially, in various absurd and over-the-top ways, like the Italians do best. It says, Lucio Fulci's batshit fan favorite. Awesome Fulci, a terrifically fun movie that is going to work its way into our regular rotation. I don't know about that. I think it's a good film. 3.5 out of 5. A mid-range Fulci classic there. But fun movie. And it is famous for its snail death scene. Not unlike the spider death scene in The Beyond. Here we have a filmmaker that a lot of people love that I just can't really fall in love with. I have not yet. I have seen a couple of his films. That's Joe D'Amato. This is Anthropophagus. I have seen this film once. I thought it was surreal. The things I like about it are the surreality, of course, of the Italian horror flicks. But some of the stories get conjumbled and very incoherent and not easy to follow. Some say that adds to the dreamlike quality of Italian horror. I agree with that. And sometimes for me it sticks and sometimes it doesn't. This was an example of it not really sticking. I gave this film like a 2.5 out of 5, so not great. I'm trying to see if it lists any other Joe D'Amato films on the back here, but it doesn't. Beyond Darkness, I'm drawing a blank on some other Joe D'Amato films. I have seen a few of them, and none of them really blew me away. But I have that one because I sold off my DVD and got the 88 Films version much cheaper than the DVD was going for from overseas. Here we have a classic Italian horror director, really the progenitor of the horror genre in Italy, quite literally. He has a film that we'll be talking about shortly. But that is Mario Bava. Mario Bava is one of the great horror maestros of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. He was working a very long time. This one came out in 72, towards the end of his career. And this one, towards the end of his career, we'll say. This one I've yet to see. This is Joseph Cotten. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of Bava films I talk about because he's one of my favorite directors of all time. He is quite the maestro. But yeah, this one I can't really speak to, guys. I haven't seen it. Cat o' Nine Tails we referenced last time. I have not seen Cat o' Nine Tails, so Can't really speak much on it. Here we have arguably my favorite Italian horror film of all time. That is Fulci's The Beyond. Down here it says, due to its shocking and violent subject matter, no one under 17 should view this film. This film is so surreal, so nightmarish, ethereal. Feels like it was made in another universe by a different species of being. It just feels so dreamlike. And everything about it, its disconnected story, which, I just complained about in Anthropophagus, but am championing in The Beyond because The Beyond truly does feel like a dream emulator in a lot of ways. It shifts focus from one thing to the other. Sometimes you could call that tonal inconsistencies, but with this particular film, it just works so well with sort of these dreamlike vignettes that are all connected. It's not like it strays too far from its original premise, which is super simple. Gate of hell opens up beyond this, beneath this home, unleashes this terrible evil that starts afflicting all of the people that come into contact with it. It's really that simple, but this film is all about its imagery, its atmosphere, the way it makes you feel. The incredible music by Fabio Frizzi. Is that his name? Let me make sure I've got that right. Yeah, Fabio Frizzi did the music here. And this Grindhouse release comes with the CD soundtrack, which is amazing, as well as the Blu-ray, of course. So I will be watching that this October. I try to watch it every October. It's one of my favorite films of all time. Lucy, what's up? Thank you for tuning in. You really like The Beyond, but my favorite Fulci movie is Zombie Flesh Eaters, which I think in the U.S., that is just Zombie, right? It's just his film Zombie. In Italy, it was Dawn of the Dead 2. In America, it's Zombie. I'm not sure. I think you're in Germany, right, Lucy? So that one in Germany is known as Zombie Flesh Eaters. Is that correct? Sorry if I got my details wrong. Here we have L'Uccello dalle Piume di Cristallo by Dario Argento. The first Argento film that I'm talking about here in this particular live stream. This is The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. I prefer the Italian language there with the Italian cover. And this is a wonderful... when I use the term by the numbers giallo, I mean that as in a respectful way, not in a copycat sort of emulative way. This film is one of the films that really lays the groundwork for what the giallo becomes in the 70s and in the 80s for that matter, and the evolution of it. It's a great movie. I'm trying to remember some of the plot details. With a lot of these giallos, they're very similar. A woman or a guy or a couple gets brutally murdered in the beginning of the film. In this case, in spectacular fashion in terms of setting, this weird museum with mirrors and glass, and it's just this beautiful scene. One of the things Argento does better than really anybody when it comes to the slasher/giallo is set the scene. The way he builds a set piece is magnificent and really stands alone. The pacing of it, the suspense building, the break in the pacing to go right back into the set and follow the character around while they maneuver around the set. Like all of those things, I think Argento does really well. I've seen a few horror films. I always bring up Kiyoshi Kurosawa, who plays with space in a very similar kind of way, setting the scene and allowing your imagination to run rampant while you look, visually for something out of the ordinary. Argento did that very well. I watched I Know What You Did Last Summer recently. The first kill in I Know What You Did Last Summer, I think, is pretty close to achieving that Argento feeling with the setting, setting the setting or setting the atmosphere of the scene and then making the kill happen. But it's a little bit too punctuated. It's a little bit too quick, expedient. Argento really knew how to spread things out and make you wait for that moment where the character reaches their fate. And Bird with the Crystal Plumage is no exception. The Black Cat, this one I've yet to see. This is Lucio Fulci doing a version. I'm sure it is not much like the original versions. The Black Cat was at a Poe. Yeah, that was a Poe story, if I'm not mistaken. And I've seen a couple other versions of The Black Cat, the one from the 30s with Karloff and Lugosi, etc. And this one I've yet to see. I'm assuming it's going to be Fulciized, meaning lots of weird gore and over-the-top absurdness. Here's one of my favorite Italian horror films of all time, for sure. This film really, really helped set the groundwork for whole genres, really. This is the anthology horror film here called Black Sabbath, again, which influenced the band to take its name. Rest in peace, Ozzy. This is 63, so this is not only an early example of the anthology horror film. Dead of Night comes to mind from 1945. I can also mention that one. I'm sure there were ones in between, but this predates really the Amicus and Hammer fascination with anthology horror films, Tales from the Crypt, things like that we would see pop up in the late 60s, early 70s, throughout the 70s, really. And this pretty much creates the woman at home alone at night, getting phone calls from some mysterious person, or in this case, her former lover, and deals with that, alone in the house sort of genre, which would explode really in the early 70s to late 70s, or mid 70s, I would say. He Knows You're Alone, When a Stranger Calls, etc., etc. So this that's one of the short films. The other short film, that's called The Telephone. The other one is The Wordalock, which is my favorite, which stars Boris Karloff as a vampire hunter here, it says, whose family is stalked by the wandering spirit of an undead ghoul. And, the atmosphere in this is palpable. It feels like a Universal horror film from the 30s or 40s in the way that it paints its atmosphere so beautifully and palpably, and follows this really cursed family as they are stalked again by this ghoul or ghost or whatever you want to call it, this entity. And it's excellent. We also have A Drop of Water, which involves a nurse who steals a ring from a corpse, not realizing that the corpse is carried with it. There's a curse carried with the corpse. Sorry, guys, I apparently can't read through the phone. It's very weird for me to do. This is the AIP English language version of Mario Bava's classic, featuring an international cast that includes a couple people that some people might know, Mark Damon especially. But the cast is not what's important here. All of them are serviceable and do exactly what they need to do to make this one of the more memorable anthology films from the 60s, and really a film that helped to establish a genre, the anthology horror film. Lucy says, in many parts of Europe, Dawn of the Dead was released as Zombie, and Zombie Flesh Eaters was here released as Zombie 2, as a fake sequel. But in the U.S., nobody knew what Zombie 1 was when it was renamed. Yes, that's a perfect way to boil it down. Next up, we have Black Sunday. I have only seen this film once, but I remember loving it, falling in love with this film. From 1960, in black and white. It was interesting to me at that time to see a late film, a film from 1960 in black and white, a later film. You know, the 60s really pushed for color. 50s was the last era for almost everything to be in black and white. And not almost everything. I'm not sure of the percentage. I can't take that. I can't say that with confidence. But this one here, I'd have to read I know it follows Barbara Steele, who is accused of, witchery, or, let's see. In an absolutely mesmerizing performance, Black Sunday stars Barbara Steele as Azavadia, a beautiful woman tortured and executed as a witch, that's right. But not before pronouncing a curse, that's right, upon the entire city, upon the entire town, which is fulfilled 200 years later. And so it's an excellent little witch movie with Barbara Steele, who is the standout here. She is always great in anything, in any of the Italian stuff, the Hammer stuff. I think she popped up in a few here and there. Barbara Steele was excellent, and one of the early, dare I say, scream queens, really, that would pop up in many, many horror films before the Hammer horror era and the Hammer women. Here we have Blood and Black Lace, a film that I enjoyed the first time around but didn't fall in love with. This is a Mario Bava movie. Again, this was a really early Bava film, too, I want to say. This is 63. I hate when they don't tell me the year on the back. It drives me fucking crazy. Or it's so small that you have to look for it for 20 minutes. 1963. I'm just going to go ahead and say it because I need to trust my gut more anyway. 1963, this film came out, Blood and Black Lace. It is really the progenitor of the genre of Giallo. This was the first of its kind, dare I say. The first one to formulate some sort of a structure, and even comes down to the cinematography, the way the kills are shot, the way the gore is handled. This is Bava, this is Giallo, this is the prototype Giallo film, and a lot of films followed suit, especially Dario Argento. Watch this film if you want to see where Argento got a lot of his style from and then expanded upon it. But I only liked it the first time around. I got to give it another shot. Here we have Burial Ground, which is a super weird Italian horror film directed by Andrea Bianchi, with the little kid, that little creepy kid, incestuous little boy, who is like obsessed with his mother in this weird Freudian way. This has some awesomely designed monsters, or zombies, I should say. 1 year later. Thank you, Lucy. I appreciate it. And some really gross flesh-eating scenes that are directly inspired by Night of the Living Dead, of course. All these Italian zombie films were inspired by Romero's zombie films. But this one is just super weird and surreal, and that's what I like about it. I didn't love it. I gave it like a 3 to 3.5 out of 5. I thought it was entertaining and really cool in its design of the zombies and its atmosphere. One thing that the Italians always get right is atmosphere, the fogginess, the luridness, the even garishness at points. And in this case, the colors are a bit more drowned out to create more of a decrepit, sort of destitute atmosphere, and it works very well. So I do want to rewatch this one. One of the people I follow on Letterboxd, I don't really know him or anything, but we have very similar tastes, so I refer to his taste sometimes when I'm in the mood for something, or I defer to his taste, because we pretty much align on everything, which is interesting. And this is one of his favorite movies of all time. His name is Joaquin. He's from overseas. What's up if you're watching? Kaltiki, the Immortal Monster, is one of my favorite Italian horror monster movies. I love this film. This is a super early Mario Bava film. You could tell because he was working with another director. Bava starts off as an effects guy and starts directing shortly thereafter. Obviously, he co-directs this with Riccardo Freda. And if I remember reading correctly, I think Bava directed most of this, if I'm not mistaken, like a lot, and also pretty much all of the effects sequences. I could be wrong, though. It doesn't really specify that on the back. Maybe it was truly a co-directing effort. But this movie, in my opinion, is far better than The Blob, the American counterpart. And I do think this was inspired by The Blob, and it just added its own Italian touch with some more cultural sort of deviations in this one, which deals with Mayan, or is it Aztec? Yeah, Mayan city. These archaeologists end up investigating, and things go badly with this giant, weird, blob-like monster called Kaltiki, the Immortal Monster. And I love everything about this, down to the name of the film, to the black and white, the beautiful black and white imagery, which does set it apart from The Blob. The Blob works very well in color. Obviously, that's what makes it work, I think, with the monster that gets redder as time goes on and as it eats more people. But I love this film. I really feel like this film is underappreciated and underloved, underwatched. This is also Lovecraftian in some existential ways. And Mario Bava directs this one from 1959. And this is right at the dawn of Italian horror, and still, in my opinion, one of the best Italian horror flicks. Classic, very traditional feeling film, and I adore it. Simple, you know? All right, guys, here we have Cemetery Man. Cemetery Man is a film that I've only seen once and was not very impressed by, I gotta be honest. I do find with rewatches of these Italian horror films, my opinions on them change drastically most of the time. And so I think that will be the case for this. I didn't hate this. I just feel like I missed something. And again, because these movies are so dreamlike and sometimes artfully incoherent, if that is any justification, this one is Michael Swaby tells more of a streamlined story, and he did Stage Fright, Aquarius, Swabi did, he didn't do Demons, did he? No, Demons is Lamberto Bava. But yes, Swabi is known for a few Italian horror films. The Church he did, and also Cemetery Man. This is the most loved of his works. It's a zombie film about a guy who works at a cemetery, and the dead start rising, and he has a love interest involved in this one as well. This is a 4K. I sold off my DVD and picked this up, and so I'm proud. I'm happy to have this in the collection. I do want to rewatch this October. Great cover there. Looking forward to that. So we're going to deviate a little bit real quickly from, what's up, Jolly Good? Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Oh, thank you for the kind words about the game shop I look at. Yeah, it's Garner, North Carolina. It's near Raleigh, and it's at the White Oak Shopping Center next to the White Oak Theater. All that information is in the description of that video. I put the address and everything so people could find it. But yeah, if you're in that area or somewhat close by, feel free to come down and check me out on the weekends. I'm there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Here we have a Japanese horror film to deviate from the Italian horror films real quick. Onibaba is a classic Japanese horror film, traditional folk horror coming from Japan, and very atmospheric, guys. I love the scenes, just the setting of this little rundown village or cottage in the midst of this field of wheat, and the wheat just kind of blowing in the wind. Black and white, beautiful imagery. This film is by Kaneto Shindo. And this one, I don't remember all of the details too, but I just remember some imagery. The image of this mask, of course. It's an excellent Japanese horror film that definitely more people need to see. It's one that isn't talked about as much as the later Japanese horror films. That one is from the 60s. Here we have I corpi presentano tracce di violenza carnale by Carlo Ponti. So that is a long way of saying torso. I corpi presentano tracce di violenza carnale, otherwise known as torso. This is what a lot of people say helped turn the Giallo into the slasher. So this is, a lot of people say that this film right here from 77 helped lay the groundwork for what would become the American slasher. So people like Carpenter were likely watching things like this and taking it and Americanizing it in a sense, and with less gore. Halloween is the direct result of this kind of thing. You got a group of young people who are in over their heads with some sort of situation. Again, I can't speak to it too much because I haven't seen Torso. I would love to see Torso. I will be fixing that hopefully this October. Sorry, I said 77. This is actually from 1973, which puts it way ahead of the curve in terms of establishing the rules of the Giallo turned slasher, the connections between the two, the differences between the two. And everybody says this is a great classic film. So yeah, I do need to see that one. And I plan to, hopefully, again, this October. All right, any others on top here? Yes, we have Quatermass and The Pit. I'm not sure why that's all the way at the bottom. I guess because maybe I didn't have room. Is this Hammer? This is Hammer, isn't it? Maybe this one wasn't Hammer. 1990. Again, this doesn't want to share the date. 1958, 1959. Right. This was the radio play turned into a screen adaptation of the original radio Quatermass in the Pit sort of show. And I just think that is so cool. So this was released in the UK in 58 and 59, so probably late 58, and episodically, and follows the story of Quatermass in the Pit, which they would later remake. Hammer would remake, and there would be sequels to it and a couple other Quatermass films following the character of Quatermass. This I've yet to see, though. This is really the first live-action screen adaptation of the original radio play. So cool. So cool to have that. I had 2 DVDs of it, in fact, and I sold both. Here we have Videodrome, which should be up here somewhere, obviously. Sometimes I just stick things anywhere when I don't feel inclined to make room. But there it is. Videodrome, guys, is one of the great Cronenberg films of all time. One of the great artful pieces of drawing a connection between what the technology that we consume does to us, how it changes us emotionally, mentally, even physically in some obscure ways that are not readily noticeable. This film takes it to the umpteenth degree, and really, as you can see in the screen here, the television screen fusing with the individual. And the implications of the philosophy of this film are vast. And I think it has a lot to say about society in the 80s, and boy, does it have a lot to say about society in the 2020s. This film is prescient, if not for its outdated tech, which is ironic because we have a movement in our country and in the U.S. and across the world, really, of people diving back into old tech to avoid surveillance and to avoid just that interconnectedness that we were promised that would bring us all closer together that seems to just be isolating us more. And Videodrome exemplifies that theme. You gotta watch it. It's a masterpiece. Damn near masterpiece in my view. All right, guys, going down to the final shelf here. I just want to check in with everybody before I talk about the classic Contamination .7. Oh, no, sorry, that's Contamination. We have Contamination .7 coming up soon. I just wanted to say thank you to the 8 people that are in the chat right now watching this live stream. I really appreciate it. Feel free to leave a comment and get some conversation going. Any comments that come through, I try to address while doing the live stream to make it sort of an interactive chat. So feel free to ask some questions if you guys have anything about any of the movies I'm watching or I'm talking about here. And also feel free to donate to the channel via Super Chats. It would help the channel. It just goes into trying to make the channel better since I don't have too much time to do so right now with all the work that I'm doing. But if you can't donate, that's totally fine. Just hit that thumbs up. That helps with exposure and getting my channel out to new people, which I have been accruing more and more so. And as Kitty makes an appearance perfectly on time, give a thumbs up for the kitty. Come on, let's see a few more thumbs up for the kitty. Kibble. There he is. Look at that. Almost a split diopter. De Palma would be proud. Yeah, I know. Anyway, so hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel and want to see more live streams and videos like this. I've got something really cool planned for October and something really cool planned for very soon. So hit that subscribe button, and I am going to continue talking about these movies. All right. Thank you, Jolly Good. You know I appreciate it. Here we have Contamination, an awesome, surreal Italian horror film. That surreal word can be applied to almost all of them. This one especially so. This is an Aliens ripoff, but it is so, or an Alien ripoff, I should say, but it is so charming and unique with its cringiness. The acting is stale, and everybody's speaking their native language, and it's dubbed over in English. That's another thing that adds to the dreamlike nature of Italian horror, is the way that they shot and produced their films. Everybody would be speaking their native languages, and then they would dub it all over in multiple different languages and ship it out across the world. And so they had this really interesting international vibe to them. And this one is no exception. And so it has that Italian horror cheese, but I don't want to, cheese is not quite the right word because these films still get under my skin, even the cheesy ones, quote unquote. So it's not quite the campy, isn't quite the right word either, because usually when you invoke those terms, you're not bothered or unsettled by the film. That is not the case with the Italian camp. Italian camp still unsettles you. It makes you feel weird. It gives you imagery that just, you know, makes your stomach turn over and makes you just go, what the fuck is going on? In particular for this film, this has this giant alien that appears periodically, especially towards the end of the film, which just looks so goofy and so big and rigid and awkward. But it haunts me. I literally have had nightmares about that thing. It is so creepy. And the Italians do that so well. Who directed this one? I actually am not sure. Cozzi, Luigi Cozzi, who is also known as Louis Coates. That's his Americanized sort of director name. He's known for the Italian Star Wars, Star Crash, and Hercules, the Lou Ferrigno Hercules movies, which are awesome. And entertaining in just the same way that I just described. Contamination Point 7, what a title. They hunt, they feed, they kill, you're next. This is sometimes referred to as Troll 3. Creepers, The Crawlers, it has a bunch of different names. It is directed by Fabrizio Laurenti, who directed Witchery, which I've yet to see, and stars Mary Sellers, who was in Ghost House and Stage Fright, 2 films I have seen. This film came out in 93 and really, as far as I understand, doesn't have too much to do with Troll 1 or 2 at all. Man-eating plants, that's what this movie's about. So it's kind of like the Little Shop of Horrors. The Italian Little Shop of Horrors. Man-eating plants. I do love the cover. I think the cover is fantastic. Very classic feeling. And yeah, I do want to watch this film. Obviously, it's in the collection. I don't hear great things about it, though. Here we have Dark Water, a film by Mariano Baino. This is a 90s Italian horror film. The 90s, the Italians weren't pumping out too many horror films of the like that they were from the 70s and 80s. Violent, exploitative, gore fests. This one, however, does give us some of that goodness in the middle of the 90s. It's Lovecraftian, it's weird, there's not much dialogue. It's all about the imagery. It's all about this convent, I'll say, on this island, if I remember correctly, with all these strange goings-on. And it's visually, it's just a very visual movie. So if you appreciate good cinematography and visual storytelling, this film has it in spades. And a loose story which keeps you interested throughout, or I should say, keeps you somewhat interested throughout, but really what engages you is the music is excellent, the imagery is excellent, and Mariano Baino, as sort of one of the late-stage Italian horror directors from the 90s, from that same crop of horror directors, really invokes the 70s in all the right ways. Here we have Deep Red. This is the sequel, spiritual successor in the spiritual trilogy of Suspiria. Deep Red. Oh, no. I'm sorry. Sorry. I'm thinking of Inferno, which we will get to. Deep Red is one of the great Giallo films from Argento. I'd argue one of his best. This and Tenebrae. I like Tenebrae slightly more. And if I'm being honest, it's been such a long time that I don't remember all of the details of these. But they are, by the numbers, Giallos, and I mean that in all the best ways. They are excellent in their atmosphere, in their suspense, in their mystery, the setting of the scene, the twist, the way that Argento lingers on the suspense before killing off the characters. All of that is present here. One-night musician Marcus Daly, looking up from the street below, witnesses the brutal axe murder of a woman in her apartment. Racing to the scene, Marcus just manages to miss the perpetrator, or does he? As he takes on the role of amateur sleuth, Marcus finds himself ensnared in a bizarre web of murder and mystery where nothing is what it seems. So this is, a horror film, no doubt about it, but it does lean more to the Giallo side of things than the slasher side of things, as you have an investigative kind of character who starts, unraveling this mystery from the inside out. It's more, I'll say, Agatha Christie, these Giallos, than they are John Carpenter, but it really is the middle ground of both of those, now that I'm saying it out loud. And Deep Red is a classic for a reason. Definitely check it out, guys. It's awesome. I need to rewatch it. Plan to do so soon. Demonia by Severin Films. Here, I got this on the Severin summer sale at some point years ago, along with a few others that I've talked about. Enigma was in that lot as well, and Anthropophagus. And so this one I have not seen. Demonia is a Fulci film. That is a nunsploitation film coming from the as it states here, the godfather of Italian gore, Lucio Fulci. Returns to startling imagery of the bloody excesses of a 70s, 80s film. So that implies this is a film from the 90s. 1990, this film came out. So Fulci dipping his toe into the nunsploitation subgenre. I'm sure it's insane. Can't wait to check it out. I'm sure it's perfectly sanctimonious when it comes to its view on religious belief. Being facetious there, obviously, it's probably cruel and mean-spirited, which is why we watch horror, challenge our beliefs. The Demons by Lamberto Bava, one of the great classic zombie films from the 80s. I love Bava's Demons. This is Lamberto Bava, not Mario Bava. Mario Bava is the father of Lamberto Bava, and Lamberto is not quite as talented, but he does have a few strokes of genius. One of them is here with Demons, which really invokes his father, Fulci, as well as Dawn of the Dead director George Romero, combines them all in a nice blender and gives us this nice little bottle movie that takes place in a theater, showing a horror movie, and the horror extends from the screen and starts terrorizing the young people, and older young people will say, like the tall black dude with the bald head. He's my favorite character in this. I wish I knew his name, but that's the description of him. He's awesome. And they realize after they're being killed off that they have to team up and fight back. And it is just such a cool movie, guys. Demons is excellent. This is an 88. This is an Arrow film release here, Region B, which I'm sure is available Region A. A lot of these Region Bs I picked up at the time when they were only available on Region B, or significantly cheaper. And Demons 2 I don't own. I wish I did. Don't Torture a Duckling. Lucy says, bought a Blu-ray of Demons in Austria. Never watched it. I want to watch it at Halloween. It's a perfect Halloween movie. So definitely check it out. Yes, Jolly Good. This is the last horror shelf of Blu-rays. You got it. Not in North Carolina, in the Pennsylvania area. You had a retro game area. That's very cool. All states have them at this point. And anyway, so we've got Don't Torture a Duckling. This is less horror and more by-the-numbers Giallo, suspense, mystery. Horror, it's close to horror, but I would say it's not quite. It's more mystery Giallo. Some Giallo, I would say, are explicitly horror, like Suspiria. Some Giallo, I would say, lean horror, but more fit the genre of Giallo, which is Don't Torture a Duckling. This one has some incredibly cool slow-motion imagery that really sticks with me, especially one of the shots towards the end, which Fulci actually uses in a couple movies, so it loses its effect after you see it the second and third time. At least the 2 times. I've seen it twice, and it involves a body falling down a rocky crag, and in beautiful Fulci fashion, it is torn to shreds. It's great, but he reuses it a couple times. With the sleepy rural village of Acendura is rocked by a series of murders of young boys. The superstitious locals are quick to apportion blame, with the suspects including the local witch Masiara. With the bodies piling up and the community gripped by panic and a thirst for bloody vengeance, 2 outsiders, city journalist Andrea and spoilt rich girl Patrizia, team up to crack the case. So really, by the numbers, Giallo here with wonderfully violent deaths at the hand of Lucio Fulci, who always brings us the visceral, exploitative gore and murders, trying to expose the reality of murder as this horrible and gruesome thing. Art reflects society. Mario Bava directs 5 Dolls for an August Moon. I wish I had all the Bava collection here by Kino, but I only have some of them. 5 Dolls for an August Moon is apparently another one of those prototypical slashers that starts to, before Torso, that begins to lay the groundwork for what would become the Americanized slasher. This one leans off of the Giallo a little bit and leans more into what would become the slasher, so prototypical slasher here. I'm exhausted already by digging into the history of Italian horror. Obviously, I should do a video on this or something because I have a lot to say about it and its influence on American horror. I mean, it's vast. This one I've yet to see, but it seems simple slasher kind of setup. Here we have 4 Flies on Gray Velvet. 4 Flies on Gray Velvet is in this bright yellow case. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but it was a good and cheap way to own the film. This is part of what is called the Animals trilogy by Argento. I believe it's the Animals trilogy. 4 Flies on Gray Velvet, Bird with the Crystal Plumage, and Cat of 9 Tails. They're tied together by the fact that each of them have an animal in their title. All great titles, by the way. I love the way the Italians titled movies. And I have a few short films that I've written that have similar sort of titles, like Little Mary and the Wind Chime and things like. I have a song, something called Little Mary and the Wind Chime, which I'm thinking of making into a song, actually. But anyway, we have Four Flies on Grey Velvet. I have not seen this film, so I can't really speak on it. I want to say it was it the second? Yeah, I believe it was the second in the Animals trilogy. Ennio Morricone actually does that's pretty cool, does the music for that, so that's pretty neat. Here we have Lucio Fulci's collection. This is City of the Living Dead, a zombie classic, House by the Cemetery, which is another zombie classic, and New York Ripper, which features a killer who sounds like Donald Duck, who is, stalking and killing women in New York. It's ridiculous. I'm not the biggest fan of New York Ripper. I like when Fulci's doing the more supernatural things as opposed to the more straight-up giallos, mean-spirited giallos. It's not terrible, but it's not my favorite thing. Has some cool set pieces, that's for sure, and some good lighting. But City of the Living Dead, where a character, pukes up his own intestines, that's more my kind of thing. House by the Cemetery is cool, too. It follows this house it's kind of like Night of the Living Dead in some ways. Young family moves from their cramped New York City apartment to a spacious New England home, but this is no ordinary home. The previous owner was deranged. It was monstrous. Human experiments have left a legacy of bloody mayhem. That's right, that were being conducted in the basement. I don't remember much of this film. I remember watching a really shitty copy by Platinum DVD put this out. But yeah, otherwise, a great little Fulci collection. Here we have another Bava film, The Girl Who Knew Too Much, which reminds me of the Hitchcock title. Or what was the Hitchcock title? I forget what it was, but it reminds me of that. Nod to Hitchcock, there you go, and Agatha Christie. So there you go. Those names are invoked finally on the back of one of these boxes. And The Girl Who Knew Too Much, I can't speak on, guys. I've yet to see it. Same thing with Hitchhike, starring Franco Nero, directed by Pasquale Festa Campanile. I've never seen this film. Can't speak on it too much, guys. I apologize. Here we have Inferno. This one I have seen one time. It's been quite some time since I've seen it, if I'm being honest. And this is the spiritual successor to Suspiria, which is the middle of that trilogy, and then the Three Mothers trilogy, and then the Mother of Tears is the final film of that loosely connected trilogy, which follows witches, essentially. Coven of Witches, New York Murders. Soon becomes clear that the devil is at work, and it's probably witches. And guess what? Spoiler, it is. So Inferno is a classic, not quite as good as Suspiria, but definitely cut from the same cloth, and it invokes a lot of the same imagery and atmosphere. Here we have Kidnapped, another Bava film, which I have yet to see, guys. I do apologize. Lamberto Bava looks like produced this film with his father. This film came out in 1974, and looks like it has a different cut from '01. I'm not exactly sure. For decades, there we go. It was a lost film. Been shut down near the end of production after its death. Years later, and his Alfredo Leone and Mario's son Lamberto obtained the footage and brought the film back to life. So that's why it says '01 there. So this is very late stage Mario Bava, I would say, 1974. I think his last film was Shock, which was 1977, if I'm not mistaken. But I've yet to see Kidnapped, guys. Here's my least favorite Fulci film. I don't remember much of this because I was really, really bored by this. I thought it was a very glacially paced and visually boring Giallo by Fulci. And maybe I'll change my mind on it the next time around, but this definitely does not have many supernatural or horror elements at all. It's more of a straight erotic Giallo kind of thing. Not really my favorite type of Fulci movie here, put out by Mondo Macabro. Manhattan Baby. This one I have seen on DVD. This one's really cool. First of all, I love the cover. It's excellent. Lucio Fulci directs this movie, and there's a good movie here somewhere. It just seems like it was studio fucked or butchered or censored or re-edited or just it's a bit of a mess of a film. But it's really impressive. It's shot on location. The intro is shot on location in Egypt and deals with this charm, this tomb, and this charm that is found by this archaeologist who is struck blind. When the family returns to Manhattan, a plague of supernatural and violence follows. once this curse kind of brings itself to New York City. So it's shot on location in Egypt and then New York City, and it looks great for that reason. It looks authentic. It looks like it has a budget. And the film is just a bit incoherent, and a little bit more so than I like to admit I enjoy in my Italian horror films. The incoherence, again, is a part of the nature of some of these films and the dreamlike, ambiguous storytelling. But this film seems a little bit too disconnected for me. Again, I think there's a good movie here, and I bet you Fulci shot a good movie. I'm just not exactly sure what exactly happened in post-production. Maybe he didn't get all the shots he needed. I don't know. But again, Fabio Frizzi does the music here, reuses, if I recall correctly, some of the music from The Beyond, which is, lazy and not great. So this definitely has its problems. There's no question about that. But I really do enjoy Manhattan Baby for what it is. Here we have another film I've yet to see, guys. The Night of the Devils, La Notte dei Diavoli, directed by Giorgio Ferroni. This came out in... This is an older one. Oh, no, this is... I thought this was from, the 60s, but it's not. It looks like 1972. So, Night of the Devils, guys. I don't know much about this Italian horror film. Here we have Phenomena, directed by Dario Argento. A really cool film that involves the crux... or the main character of this film really is insects and how they interact with the main characters. And some of them are definitely hurt in the making of this film, which bothers me as a film watcher. And with some of my personal beliefs on how we treat our fellow human and our animals. I think those two things are connected in philosophical ways. And Phenomena... it's still a really cool film. It has all these different covers on this edition, back when they were doing these window editions where you could change out the artwork. That was my favorite of the ones provided, so I went with that one. And I really enjoyed this film for what it is. A young Jennifer Connelly, an aging Donald Pleasance is in this. This is from 1987, I want to say. Come on, chat, help me out. It's definitely the 80s. I want to say it's 87. It doesn't say on the back. Here's another really cool cover. That cover's pretty neat, too. But yeah, it doesn't say on the back. I'm actually going to switch up the cover there. Boom. That's cool. Phenomena's a good one, though. I do remember it. The ending is absolutely insanely incoherent. And leaves you aghast, just like, what the fuck is happening? Maybe there's some breadcrumbs throughout the film that I missed that lead you to the ending, but that ending was so out of place to me. No problem, guys. 1985. Thank you, Lucy. I appreciate it very much, Lucy. One of my favorite Bava films here. All of his films are some of I love his films. Mario Bava does Planet of the Vampires, which invokes 50s American sci-fi horror, things like The Angry Red Planet and Invisible Invaders. I'm trying to think of Voyage to the Seventh Planet, things like that. This is the Italian version of that kind of thing. This comes out in the 60s. This is 1965, dead center in the middle of the 60s. And I love this film. It is so influential, so ahead of its time. It follows a group of, desk property, it seems. When a crew of unsuspecting astronauts intercepts a distress call, sounds like Alien already, from a distant world, the stage is set for a terrifying expedition. They arrive on the planet. Something is awry on the planet. Vampires, monsters are trapped in this shadowy sort of realm. It's an awesome movie that has action, of them shooting down these weird, strange monsters. Great special effects by Bava. Awesome atmosphere, great set design. This is just why I love Italian horror. Can't go wrong with that one. Thank you, Greg, for Greg DiStefano for, there's a good Italian name, DiStefano, for the the date on Phenomena, 1985. Thank you very much, guys. I was off by 2 years. Here we have RoboWar, an insane combination of RoboCop and Predator, where the RoboCop-like Predator antagonist just destroys all of these army guys in this jungle, eviscerates them, blows them to smithereens. It's ridiculous. And anytime this robot is approaching, he goes, he sounds like fucking the robot version of Porky Pig, the android Porky Pig. That's what he sounds like. This movie is ridiculous. Definitely watch it with a few friends. It's bananas. It's directed by Bruno Mattei, who makes nothing but bananas movies and gets upset when people don't take his movies seriously, which was, the troll documentary. That's what I got from it. Claudio Fragasso, same thing. Like, these guys make these unbelievably entertaining and fun genre movies. I guess they thought they were making masterpieces. I don't know. I guess maybe that's the mentality that you had to have to make some of these wonderful jewels from the 80s. RoboWar is insane. The Sect is a Suavi film I've yet to see. Argento presents this one, probably produces it, maybe even writes it. Let's see. Does he write it? No. Yep. He wrote this one. He helped write this one. So, The Sect. Have I actually seen this? I don't remember if I've seen The Sect. Sorry, guys. Stendhal Syndrome is late-stage Argento. Well, I shouldn't say late-stage. Mid-stage Argento, because he's still making movies. Those have to be considered late-stage Argento. This is 90s Argento, Stendhal Syndrome. This is not a bad movie. It follows Asia Argento, however you want to pronounce it. RoboWar is great, Greg. It's a great time. Try to watch it with a friend or two. But even alone, it's a fun blast of a movie. It's ridiculous. It's not good, but it is entirely entertaining. Stendhal Syndrome follows Asia Argento, who suffers from this effect called the Stendhal Syndrome, which is when somebody is completely overwhelmed by like a beautiful piece of art, a hallucinatory phenomenon which causes people to lose their mind in the memory of guys, I can't read through the fucking screen. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to read it from here. An hallucinatory phenomenon which causes her to lose her mind and memory in the presence of powerful works of art. So there you go. And that kind of weaves into a very Giallo story about this guy who's stalking her and killing people. And it's Argento by the numbers, Giallo, 90s Giallo, which has a bit more of a, how do you say, it's very similar, I mean, to the Giallos of the 70s. It has a dry atmosphere, this one in particular, a focus on the characters and the interactions with the world around them. It's a good movie, not great. Here we have probably my favorite piece in the entire collection, a beautiful steelbook of Suspiria. And I think this is a Blu-ray 4K restoration. And 3 discs, it looks like here. And it probably has I think it has a soundtrack. The score for Suspiria is certainly one of my favorite scores of all time, bar none. Bar few, I should say, to be consistent. I love Suspiria. It's one of my favorite films of all time. It's slipping very fast. Yes, it was. It's one of my favorite films of all time. When I watched this in my teens, it absolutely blew my mind in terms of what was possible from horror. And the lighting, the set design, the light design is just so fucking incredible in this film. Every scene is splashed with some beautiful color and lighting and just lush and lurid with color, which is almost blended with the brutal, stark violence of the film and the blood and the weirdness and the surreality scenes that, like the barbed wire scene, which is a nightmare, is just a nightmare. You know, we've had nightmares like that, most of us, where we are in something and we try to get out and we just go further and further in. The pit of barbed wire scene I'm referring to here, the bugs, it's got all the fears in it, and it's about witches at its core, and that is what the film is about. It's about these witches manipulating and maneuvering amongst these girls at this dance school. It's really about, to me, it's a film about how the feminine power is exercised. There's masculine power, which is overt, excessive, blunt, But then there's feminine power, which has been used throughout history in a more seductive, in a more manipulative way. Very interesting from that lens, philosophically speaking. And Suspiria, without all the philosophy, it's just a great horror movie. It's a great classic horror movie with wonderful editing, wonderful composition, wonderful music. One of the best of all time. What can I say? Tenebrae. Again, guys, I'm sorry to say that I have the Argento Giallos a bit conflated in my head since I've only seen them once. But I remember some great imagery from this. I do remember the twist of this film. That was the most stark thing about the entire film, I'll say. But the deaths are great. I remember the set pieces reminding me, this is the film that really made me realize that Argento was a master at setting up scenes and sets and then allowing their characters to move through those sets and eventually meet their fate. Tenebrae is the one that really made me realize how masterful he was at that. I think people prefer Deep Red, but I prefer Tenebrae. It's just more memorable for me. Great movie, great Giallo. I corpi presentano tracce di violenza carnale. Torso, a.k.a. We already talked about that one, guys, so feel free to head back and look at that one once the video is archived. Here we have Argento's Trauma, another mid-stage Argento. This is the 90s here. 1993, starring our boy Brad Dourif, who does the voice of Chucky, who is in Spontaneous Combustion. He's in a lot of horror films, of course. He is a horror icon and legend, Exorcist 3. Anytime he pops up on screen, he's entertaining. I love him. Un oscuro segreto, una mente contorta, una vendetta sadica. So, an obscure secret. Yeah, that's about all I can translate there. Una vendetta sadica. Not exactly, guys, but I hear very good things. People say this is one of the better Argento films of the last, we'll say, 35 years. I can't believe he's been making films for 60 plus years. That's absolutely, or almost 60 years. That's insane and awesome. And I hope he keeps doing it until he meets his fate, like his characters have all throughout his career. Sorry, I felt that was an opportunity for me to be poetic. I didn't mean it to be saddening, because we don't want to lose Argento, but it's inevitable, like all life. Here we have Troll and Troll 2, a wonderful double feature by Scream Factory. I love both of these films for different reasons. Troll 1, I think, Greg Di Stefano, yeah, not going to attempt that. That would not come out well. Here we have Troll. I love Troll. I think it's goofy. It's kind of fun for the whole family horror. Very early. It feels like early Full Moon, which makes sense because some of the Full Moon people were behind the film. It is 1986, so it is around the time where the Full Moon was kind of doing its thing. It might even be a Full Moon movie. I'm not exactly sure. All I know is the composer is Richard Band. John Carl Buechler directs the film. Producer Charles Band. So it's probably Full Moon. Anyway, Troll 1 is fun, ridiculous. It has musical numbers. Michael Moriarty is always fun to watch. That's why I enjoy it. It has a totally weird and strange atmosphere of this world beyond this apartment complex. It's kind of like Narnia in that sense. You open the door and these trolls are existing in this weird forest-like, nymph-like area. It's so weird, but I love movies like this. I rented Troll back in the day. And Troll 2 I actually saw Troll 2 at my grandma's house on her television one day after school, and boy, did it scar me for a very long time until I got older, and people were saying this was the worst movie ever made, and I was confounded because as a boy it freaked me out. The whole movie freaked me out. Maybe because of its surreal atmosphere and acting, which culminates in a very bizarre ending that scarred me as a child. There's no blood. There's something like blood. It's about the plant monsters metabolizing humans into plant matter. I don't know. It's fucking bizarre. It's weird. It's the green slime I'll never forget for the rest of my life. It's made an indelible mark in my head. And then I grew up and realized that Troll 2 was, celebrated for being one of the worst movies of all time. But hey, it was effective to a young boy. It was really effective. In fact, like I said, it fucked me up. Now I appreciate Troll 2 truly for what it is. Not a great movie, but a demonstrably wonderful bad movie, which spawned, of course, the Best Worst Movie documentary, which is certainly worth watching from a psychological standpoint and cinematic standpoint. Here we have a film by Riccardo Freda. This was the first film that Mario Bava directed on, or worked on. I believe he even helped direct, if I'm not mistaken, because he did the special effects in this film. Thank you, Greg. The green slime is so creepy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm not the only one who has felt that way throughout his whole life. I appreciate it. I Vampiri I had to get from overseas because it wasn't released over here, but it is an all-region Blu-ray, so it'll play anywhere in the world by Radiance here. Really nice work it seems they've done. I've yet to crack it open, but I watched it on DVD. Guys, this is the first Italian horror film. Like, on record, the first Italian horror film. There might be things that had horror elements before it, but this was the first film to bring horror to Italy. And Riccardo Freda was the man to do it, with Bava right there in tow. I'm not sure exactly what Bava did on the film. I know he did the special effects. I thought he helped direct, but I have to watch some of the special features on this to really figure that out. If I'm being honest, I wasn't really impressed by this film. I thought it was a little slow. I thought it was a little poorly paced. Well-directed, well-shot, beautifully lush black and white cinematography, but I felt like the story was lacking. So I do want to give this another shot on Blu-ray. It came out in 1957. That's the first Italian horror film to hit the airwaves, I Vampiri, I, Vampire. Here we have Wax Mask, a late-stage Argento and Fulci film. I want to say, yeah, so it was... Yeah, I thought, okay, so I don't know the story behind this. I did at one point. It was Fulci and Argento were writing this together or something like this, and I want to say Fulci was going to direct it, but he passed away. This is from the early 90s, I want to say. Sergio Stivaletti ended up directing this, but this was really towards the end of Fulci's life, if I'm not mistaken, sadly enough. Zetter or Zeter, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that, is a Pupi Avati film. This is the first time I just threw it across the room. Pupi Avati, funny name, obviously, in the West here, because Pupi means a specific thing in English. But Pupi Avati is really one of the original Giallo legends, maestros from Italy. He did Pupi Avati, The House with Screaming Windows. He did he do all of the... No, he didn't do all the... House with Laughing Windows. He did a few other films, guys. I'm blanking on right now. House of Laughing Windows is his big one, though. So there you go. And Zeter is, I believe, a zombie film or something of the like. I'm not exactly sure. I've yet to see it. I want to see it very soon. Zeter? No, I didn't break the case. It luckily landed flat. So there you go. Here we have the seminal classic Zombie, which is known, as Lucy said, in many other parts of the West and in the world as Zombie Flesh Eaters, or even Dawn of the Dead 2 in Italy. This has nothing to do with Dawn of the Dead. They were just banking on the success of Dawn of the Dead. This is Zombie. In my mind, this is the film called Zombie. It is Dawn of the Dead 2 in Italy. Then there's Zombie 3, Zombie 4, Zombie 5. There's a whole series of these films which are not related in any way, shape, or form, but the Italians used as a way to sell the film on familiarity's sake, for familiarity's sake. But Zombie, what can I say about Zombie that hasn't already been said? Brutal, mean-spirited, exploitative gore. The, shard of glass going into the eye is an iconic image at this point. Fulci had a fascination with eyes. I didn't mention that for Manhattan Baby, but most of the deaths involve piercing of eyes in Manhattan Baby. So if that sort of thing bugs you, which of course we're human, it bugs all of us, we'll all flinch. But, I obviously can look past it because I know it's not real, and I'm just impressed with the realism of it and the gruesome nature and the artful nature of it. But Zombie is a classic film. It has a zombie and shark fight, which is absolutely ridiculous on the bed of like some bay of water, some body of water. It's ridiculous. Zombies moving through the water, underwater, is just such a cool image. And, you know, they get to this island, of course, and this island is besieged by this zombie horde as this group of survivors try to fight back, try to survive as long as they can. This is a classic horror film, one of the best zombie films ever made, and you got to check it out. Such an iconic image right there. And really introduces the world to a new type of zombie, a decrepit, rotting corpse of a zombie, a zombie in the middle of what's the word, decay. A zombie in the midst of decay, whereas the Romero zombies were in the beginning stages of decay, you could argue. Fulci's zombies would be towards the later stage of decay, when there are bugs, you know, crawling in and out of the eye sockets. But they're alive, they're moving around, and it adds to the visceral and crude nature of the effects, which are just so realistic and effective still to this day. So, can't go wrong with Zombie. This film comes out in 1979 and blows away the world with its exploitative gore. Last, we have Zombie Holocaust, which is one I can't say that I've seen, guys. This one, I probably have, if I'm being honest. But Ian McCullough's in this. He's also in Zombie. Cannibal Holocaust, he was also in. This one, I can't speak too much to. I've yet to see it, guys. But it looks like it has some grody gore there. So look at that. Some gruesome, terrifying gore. Hardcore spaghetti splatter with extra meat sauce. There you go. It's a nice way of putting it. All right, guys. I just want to do a quick stretch here. Take a sip of water. Check in with the chat. Thank you guys for tuning in, for being lively in the chat. It's always fun. Keeps the chat interesting. So, with that said, I just want to thank you again for tuning into this live stream. If you're enjoying it, feel free to hit the thumbs up button. We've only got one thumbs up. Let's get a few thumbs up for the kitty. There's the kitty. He wants you to give thumbs up. See? If he could give a thumbs up right now, he would. So that means you should. So thank you for doing that, guys. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to hit the subscribe button and the little bell for notifications if you want to see more live streams like this. Without further ado, that is our intermission. We are going to go back down. We are done with the Italian horror, folks. We are now moving on to the second to last subgenre of films. Here we have Kaiju! Kaiju! Sorry. You have to say it like that. Because it is, let's see, monster movies. Giant monster movies. Kaiju cannot be said in a whisper. The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, arguably the film that starts it all. I've got another film that arguably starts it all in my silent films section. I would argue The Lost World and The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms really helped create what we know as the giant monster movie or the kaiju flick, and even the tokusatsu subgenre in Japan. All these things. So The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms is a very early Ray Harryhausen effects-driven movie. It's not directed by him. It's directed by Eugene Laurie, but any Harryhausen films get casted as his films in hindsight because of the incredible effects work that these films are remembered for. Honestly, is a lot like Godzilla. It's a giant lizard who crawls up out of the sea and starts wreaking havoc in Gojira form, and it's not too much unlike Godzilla in the way that it flows. It's a little less political than Godzilla would be, for obvious reasons, after what Japan had been through throughout the 40s. But this film does come out in 1953, so it predates Godzilla by, 1 year, right? Godzilla comes out in 54. And so I would imagine that this helped to inspire Godzilla, but I'm not exactly sure. Sometimes these things pop up almost spontaneously because they're pulled out of the ether or the zeitgeist is in the right place. And so these sort of emergent ideas happen in the landscape of art. And Beast from 20,000 Fathoms is no slouch. It's a great little monster movie. It's not perfect, but it's got this wonderful sequence at the end with the giant monster wreaking havoc and at an amusement park and some great stop-motion claymation effect work by the legend Harryhausen. Here we have Death Kappa, which I've yet to see, guys. This looks right up my alley. Looks a little bit parodical in its approach to kaiju, but it looks awesome. Look at this big thing. It reminds me of Baby Godzilla, or Godzilla's son of Godzilla. Forget his name. Manila, that's his name. It reminds me of Manila. Looks like he's having fun throwing this little transport copter about. You got a chick with what looks like a machine gun. You got a giant Kappa monster spewing fire. You have lightning effects. This looks awesome. Can't wait to watch that. I hear it's a bit deconstructive in its approach to kaiju. Here we have Dragon Wars D-War. This, I believe, is South Korea. Hyung-rae Shim, South Korean director, directs this CG-infused kaiju film, which I've yet to see. Looks pretty fun for a late night. I'm going to check it out one day. Here we have Host, or The Host, I should say. This is another South Korean kaiju film. It says on a par with Jaws. I didn't feel that way the first time around. I thought this was a bit underwhelming, frankly. I think the monster design's really cool, but I thought the film, I don't know, could have been better. Forgive me, I smell something odd. I think it's burning wood outside. Okay. I'm sorry, my survival senses kicked in. I don't remember much. I remember this giant monster living in the sewers. This giant monster is not really that giant. It's not like Godzilla giant. But I do want to rewatch this. It's been a long time. All right. Oh, yeah, my air conditioner kicked on. I think somebody's burning some garbage outside because we're in the south, so that's like a thing people do. Yeah, it's pretty strong. Gappa, the Triphibian Monster. This one is, is wild. I have seen this one. It's a giant turtle monster. And I guess is the progenitor of Death Kappa. Like this giant turtle, it looks a lot like Death Kappa. So this giant turtle kind of thing was a Kappa monster thing, was a thing even in the 70s. And this is a really solid, or 60s, I should say. Nikatsu put this out, 67. So not Toho. Nikatsu put this out. And it's a great little monster movie. They say best monster so far. The effects are wonderful. It really is a by-the-numbers kaiju film, but it does everything right. It's got the military, the great effects, the great action sequences. It's an awesome kaiju. What's burning? People usually burn garbage in burn barrels down here in the South. It's a common thing, cultural thing. King versus Kong. I'm sorry, King Kong versus Godzilla. This is 1963, the one that, was the first big crossover. This is the Japanese King Kong, keep in mind. It's not the American King Kong. They are different entities owned by different subsidiaries. And King Kong versus Godzilla would get a sequel called King Kong Escapes. It would offshoot in a couple different directions. So we would get King Kong Escapes from King Kong versus Godzilla, which is, I might like King Kong Escapes a little bit more than King Kong versus Godzilla. I think it's a super fun film. I'll watch it over and over until the day I die because it's King Kong and Godzilla fighting, and it's awesome. But there's something really goofy about Escapes that just really thrills me. It's great. This has the classic pagoda shot and the people running away. This has all the classic cliches from Godzilla movies. And hey, we get to see him fight King Kong. It's awesome. Here we have King Kong Escapes, what I was just talking about. You have Mecha Kong fighting the original Kong. Goofy special effects, but awesome nonetheless. You have this weird T-Rex monster, which we get a fight with. A great ending where they're climbing the, I believe, the Tokyo Tower, if I'm not mistaken. You have a bad guy named Doctor Who. That's H-U, not Dr. W-H-O, Doctor Who. It's very funny. I actually did a riff review, a scripted, jokey review on this early on in my channel's years. Go check that out if you would like a laugh to see what my early videos were like. Here we have Godzilla 1984, also known as Return of Godzilla. This is a great Godzilla reboot, in my opinion. This was the beginning of the Heisei era, of which I adore the Heisei era and the Millennium era, and all the eras for that matter, the Showa era as well. But I'm more of a fan of the Heisei and the Millennial eras of Godzilla films. All of them have their place. All of them have their vibe, their atmosphere, the time that they were released, their goofiness or their severity, whatever it might be. There's a place and time for every sort of Godzilla film, but I am more of a student and a fan of the Heisei and Millennia years. This is great. It doesn't have any other monsters but Godzilla, and these awesome little government ships that are kind of like UFOs that Godzilla battles. But Godzilla is back and he's pissed off, and it's awesome. Here we have Godzilla vs. Biollante, a film that took forever to get released. Just want to fix the artwork here. Forever to get released in a sound fashion, in an acceptable fashion, I should say, because this film I had this movie by Mill Creek, and it had the English dub as opposed to the English subtitles and Japanese dub. And that was the way to watch this for many years. It was worth like $150 at its peak. And then I sold it off when I heard the announcement of this because I knew this would have the original Japanese. I don't need the original English. I want the original Japanese. And so I sold off my Blu-ray for like $70 before it came out, which is double the price, double the value of this Criterion collection, which I got for like $35. Godzilla vs. Biollante is one of the best Godzilla films, hands down. He really, really meets his match with this giant, tendrilless, Lovecraftian plant creature, this plant sort of spliced creature. Godzilla pales in comparison to his size. And this is the first time Godzilla really gets his ass kicked, and it's got blood, and I won't spoil the ending, but it is an awesome Godzilla film with a great story, great effects, great action, even outside of the Godzilla action, with guns and skirmishes. It's a really cool film. One of the best Godzilla films. Here we have Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah and Godzilla and Mothra, The Battle for Earth. Again, this is really, I love these early 90s Godzilla films. These are so much fun, guys. I've only seen them once or twice, so I can't really talk about all of them in detail. This is King Ghidorah is the one where they send back. Has sort of the Terminator-esque story where they send back this bad guy who's basically like a poor man's Terminator. And yes, mysterious UFO flying over. Yeah, it's a fun one. Godzilla and Mothra, anytime they're together, I really enjoy the movies. And in this one, they team up to fight off Batra. And here we have Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, which I've yet to see. I've not seen any of the Mechagodzilla films, believe it or not. I'm savoring those last 4 Godzilla films, and the only 4 I've yet to see. Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, I have seen. I enjoyed it for what it was. A lot of people give it a hard time, but I think it's a fun movie with some great, obviously, practical monster effects here. And Space Godzilla, it's ridiculous. Of course it is, but I love it. Here we have Tokyo SOS. Yeah, and Final Wars. Tokyo SOS I actually have yet to see as well, because it's another Mechagodzilla. It has Mechagodzilla in it. So I think it's 5 films I get to see from the Godzilla. I've yet to see the later 2 anime as well. I need to watch those. But I haven't seen that. And Final Wars, one of my favorite Godzilla films, hands down. I feel like if you're a true Godzilla film fan, this has to be one of your favorite films. Look at all the monsters that are in it. They almost couldn't fit it on the box. Look at how awesome that is. Godzilla, Gigan, King Caesar, things that only pop up once. Anguirus, you have that giant snake thing named Manda, Mosura, you have Rodan, King Ghidorah. You have all of the great monsters all in one movie. Ryuhei Kitamura directs this film, and I think he directs the hell out of it. Ryuhei Kitamura would do Midnight Meat Train versus, he's known for his very brutal later stage American horror films like No One Lives, which are excellent, really fun movies. But Final Wars, really a blast. Like tokusatsu at its finest, kaiju at its finest. It reminds me of Super Inframan in a lot of ways. Great movie. Here we have my buddy Michael gifted me this one day because he got another copy. Godzilla -1. I'm so happy to have this. It would have taken me quite some time to find this at the Goodwills, but or the thrift shops. But I do have a copy here, thanks to a friend, a good friend. And this is my favorite Godzilla film. I could probably say my favorite Godzilla film, if not top 3. I need to watch it again, watch all of them again to solidify the positions, which will always dynamically change because I'm a dynamic person. But This tells the best story, hands down, I'd say. I don't think that's going to change. I think this is the best story ever told in a Godzilla film. It's about people power. It's about people rising up when the government is non-existent, not helping, and overcoming trials and tribulations. In fact, this is one of the only Godzilla films I could really say that the military is not really present much in terms of the story. There's no politics. There's no bureaucrats. None of that kind of shit. It's about people. And deals with a kamikaze pilot who who's disillusioned by his government's demands. And that's where the monster enters, and that's where the monster is maintained until the climax of this film, which is just wonderful. I've never cried in a Godzilla film. I did cry in this one. I was in the theaters and I bawled. I thought it was beautiful, the story they told about the sanctity of life, and it was a critique, obviously, on the utterly nationalistic sort of Gokokujo culture, the samurai code culture that was reinvigorated in the late 1800s in Japan, which led them to some of the worst atrocities of the 20th century, the radicalization of that ideology. And it plays with all those ideas politically, philosophically, and tells one of the great stories in any kaiju film, but really balances great storytelling with wonderful kaiju action. It is phenomenal. One of the best, if not the best. Oh, that's right. Shin Godzilla. I have, guys, I think it's over there. It's over there, because I brought it to my friend's house to watch. But Shin Godzilla I'll talk about here. Oh, that's right. There are actually a few. I'm glad I looked so that I could bring them over. All right, so before we talk about the one that everybody hates, Godzilla 98, we'll talk about a few more Godzilla films from the Heisei and Millennial eras. We have one of the great Godzilla films of all time. This is top 5, no question. Giant Monsters All Out Attack, Mothra and King Ghidorah. This is such a great film directed by Shusuke Kaneko, who is known for his Gamera films. He did the Gamera trilogy up there from the 90s, which is, again, are some of the best kaiju films of all time. And Giant Monsters All Out Attack, directed by Shusuke Kaneko, they knew they wanted somebody that got their, were completely entrenched in the kaiju genre. They brought him over to Godzilla, and he nailed it, knocked it out of the park. You have the classic monsters back together again, Gojira, Mothra, Ghidorah. And you have Baragon as well, who does seem like the odd man out, but still puts in a great performance as a monster, And so it's excellent. It's one of the best monster action you'll see, some of the best fights you'll see in any Godzilla film. Great movie. Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, I can't speak to, guys, because I've yet to see it. Like I said, I haven't. I'm savoring the Mechagodzilla films. Godzilla versus Destoroyah. A pretty good Godzilla film. I don't hate it. I don't hate any Godzilla films. I enjoy it. I thought it was pretty fun for what it was, but a bit forgettable. And Megaguirus, though, I like Megaguirus more than most people, it seems. I like some of the imagery, some of the dystopian imagery in that one, if I'm remembering correctly. Or is that... No, that's Space Godzilla. Shit. Megaguirus, I don't remember hating, though. I remember enjoying this movie, and I liked sort of the evolution of the Anguirus character. And so, there you go. So, again, a lot of these films I've only seen once, guys. Or twice. And again, top 5 Godzilla films of all time, Shin Gojira. Shin Gojira is obviously... one of the best Godzilla films. It balances the political bureaucracy, the politics, and the bureaucratic sort of shuffling with the monster who is evolving throughout the entirety of this film, has multiple stages of metamorphosis, and that adds a really cool element of suspense, like what is he going to look like next? Is this his final form? When he uses his atomic breath, it is absolutely epic and, what's the word? Authoritative and godlike. Just so cool. This film, again, I am just so entranced by not only the monster action, but also the political the political dialogue. As a political person, I'm very into politics and history and the history of politics, political theory, political thought, political philosophy. This movie gets it very, very well and entertains, even with its seemingly boring subject matter. I could see some people being bored by it, but not me. I'm intrigued by it and enticed by it because I'm into this. I read this stuff. Today's my off day. I spend 2 hours reading political philosophy. So this is what I do in my leisure time. So when a movie gets that kind of thing very well and very right, the real practical applications of government, I thought it was very fascinating to see. So yeah, Shin Godzilla, one of the best of all time. Next up, we have Godzilla 98. A film I am an active apologist for. I've seen this film probably more than I've seen any Godzilla film, if I'm being completely honest with you. I love this movie. I think this is a great monster movie. I wish it wasn't called Godzilla so that all the people that whine and cry about it, it's not Godzilla, can shut the fuck up. Because it is called Godzilla. This is an American Godzilla film. There is a difference between American Godzilla, has always been a difference since the King of the Monsters recut in the 50s. There has always been a difference between American Godzilla and Japanese Godzilla. Japanese Godzilla is better. There's far more better content. American Godzilla, this is really where he gets his start, in my opinion. Does it look like Godzilla? No, but it didn't have to. It looks more like The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. I wish this was billed as a remake of that. That would have been cool. It wasn't. It's a Godzilla film in the West. That is what it is. I think Godzilla's look is not bad. Again, it reminds me of Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, more like a lizard-like approach to the monster. I think the monster is cool. I think the baby monsters are very cool. I don't think it's as cool as Godzilla, but I think it's pretty fucking cool. And if you don't compare it, comparison's the thief of joy. You may find yourself getting something from this movie. The characters, I like the characters. I know a lot of people disagree. Jean Reno's character is fun. Matthew Broderick's character is a little weird and poorly written, but fun in a campy way. I love the animal, played by Hank Azaria. He's a cool character. None of these characters are magnificent, but it's a Godzilla film. They're more memorable than most Japanese Godzilla films. I will say that. This movie has great miniatures, great effects for the time, balancing practical with the newly experimented with CG. I think the last half of this film is a lot different than the first and really picks up the action and turns into an Aliens-like slasher film in ways. Really cool. I love this movie. I don't care what anybody says. Do I give it a 5 out of 5? No, I give it like a 3.5. If I'm feeling really, if I'm feeling very lenient, I guess I could give it a 4, but just for my utter enjoyment and nostalgia for it. This was my first Godzilla film, guys. It really was. It opened the door to Godzilla for me back when it came out, and then I started hunting down other Godzilla films and realized the greatness of this series. And Godzilla 98, I love. It's a 3.5 out of 5 on any given day for me. It's a good film. Good monster film. Here we have Godzilla, a film that I hated when it first came out. I really, really did not appreciate what this film was trying to do. I appreciate it a little bit more now. I don't think it's great. I think it's a 3 out of 5. I think killing off Bryan Cranston is the film's greatest error. I think that's a bad mistake. They should have kept him on. Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen's characters are absolutely... They could have been written by the DOD or something. Like, it's just... And I know this movie was made in conjunction with the State Department and the Department of Defense, I should say. But the characters are just so bland and, like, boringly American. The action in this film is excellent when it's there. There's not enough of it, in my view. There should have been a little bit more. But the sequence that is pictured here of the flares going up and then the paratroopers landing, in and around, on and around Godzilla, like all those images are pretty epic. I will give it that. And it's not a terrible Godzilla film. It's certainly not my favorite, though. It's towards the bottom half of Godzilla films, I'd say. And this one, I loved when it came out in theaters, but I have waned on this more than probably any other film that I've ever waned on. I was just, the hype for this was so real for me. I was so excited. Then I finally saw it, and I was pretty let down, or I finally saw it a second time at home, and I was pretty let down. I was like, what was I on? And I think I was just on excitement and nostalgia. And do I hate it? No, I think it's fine. It's fun. I'm not a fan of the usage of color, and it's kind of compartmentalized colorization. You know, like it's literally, it's shown here on the cover. Rodan is in this movie. It's cool to see Rodan back on the big screen on American movies. That's cool. Ghidorah is back. Mosra is back. Ghidorah. They all look awesome. They all look great. I just feel like the movie isn't that hot in terms of the way it shoots its action. It's all at night. It's all very hard to determine what's going on. It's afraid to show its, I guess, not superior 3D models. It's weird. The sequels help fix this a little bit, you know, the King Kong versus Godzilla stuff. But I don't own any of those right now. I would like to. I think they're serviceable, fun films. Here we have King Kong, a film that really helped to start it all. I should have included this in the films that influenced Godzilla, because obviously this did. King Kong from 1931 is one of the, or 33, sorry guys, is one of my favorite films of all time. I think it's a masterful film with great acting, great camera work, great adventure, great special effects. All of the things that make a great genre movie are in this, and it's the progenitor of the genre film in a lot of ways. The science fiction, the fantasy, the adventure film. This is the film that culminated everything that the silent era did and provided us a talkie that was full of action and adventure and intrigue and wonder and mystery and all of those things. This is a great, great film about the beast in man and the power of the feminine to tame that beast. You could interpret it many, many different ways, but I do think that's what it's about, the relationship between man and woman on this planet, within this species. Culminates in, obviously, one of the great endings of all time, where that still makes me cry. That still chokes me up. It really does. The music swelling, the imagery, the epic nature of it, the pity one feels for Kong in this new concrete jungle, which is kind of like his home, but he learns not at all like his home. Much more harsh and cruel, terrible. Son of Kong is a sequel I've yet to see. I am embarrassed to say I've yet to see the sequel to Son of Kong. This is a RKO classic as well here, put out by Warner Brothers. Ernest B. Schudsack directs this one. And Schudsack, Marion C. Cooper, let's see here. Marion C. Cooper and Schudsack produce and direct the original. And yeah, I've yet to see it, guys, so I don't know much about this, but I know it's a sequel, pretty much a direct sequel to King Kong. It came out the same year, I believe, and probably not as big of a budget because they wanted to get it out quick, but to capitalize on the success of the original film. But yeah, I do need to see that, guys. King Kong, another Western, how should I say? Another remake of a classic monster film, King Kong, directed by Peter Jackson here. Another incredibly epic. He does such a wonderful job capturing the adventurousness, the epicness, the intrigue of the original film, and bringing it to us in a new era with new special effects techniques and new camera techniques, beautiful, full color, all these HD things, and really brings us a compelling monster movie that is not as good as the original because it loses some of its soul in the transfer from practical effects to CG, I will say. This does have some practical effects, just not as many as I would like. It relies on CG more so than anything. It's a little overlong. It tells the same story essentially in about 45-minute longer of a movie. It's like 3 hours long, the extended edition. The original is like 100-something minutes long. Rampage, that's another interesting movie, yep. And game, of course. And then here we have Kong Skull Island, which is a great monster movie, I would say, or damn near great monster movie. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. Really fun movie that follows a team of Vietnam guys who go into Vietnam or go into the Skull Island area where there's supposed to be some weird things happening, and they find this isolated island where all these things are overgrown, and they are met First and foremost, by Kong, who slaps them out of the sky, swats them like flies as they realize that they're up against a beast that they do not know, which is a big allegory for Vietnam, of course. And this film tells a great story with compelling characters, some compelling characters like John C. Reilly's character. Some of them are bland and sort of archetypical and, bland, bland is the word. Not very deep, etc. But they all end up, a lot of them end up dying one by one, which is fun. You never know when they're going to go. It's kind of like a slasher film in that sense. But we get a lot of good CG fights here between Kong and various giant, like an octopus and a giant spider and all these sorts of giant animals, which keeps things interesting and keeps you engaged, like what's coming next. And Kong Skull Island is a great monster movie. I really feel like it's it's by far the best of the MonsterVerse stuff that's come out. I'm losing steam, guys. We got a little bit more to go here. All right, we have Mothra. Mothra is one of my favorite kaiju films. I think it's a classic. This is the steelbook put out by Mill Creek, or Echo Bridge. Mill Creek, sorry. And Mothra is the one with the song Mothra, which is great, sung by the twins. And is more about, digs more into, again, feminine power. Mothra is a female. It's ecological. It has ecological commentary, about what we're doing to the planet. Some of the things like the original Godzilla film does, but this has a softer touch. I don't know what it is about this film, but it is Inishiro Honda, or otherwise known as Ishiro Honda, who directed the original film, and is really the reason that we have a kaiju genre. Mothra, Rebirth of Mothra 1, 2, and 3. I've yet to see these guys. I'm kind of savoring them. I don't hear too many great things about them, but I like Mothra as a character, so I'm savoring those, looking forward to watching those at some point. And finally, we have Reigo, Raiga, and Oga. Reigo to Raiga to Oga. Giant monsters attack. They will destroy all, I swear. This is actually a trilogy of films, the Reigo, Raiga trilogy from Japan. These are lower budget monster movies that not many people know even exist. I've yet to watch them. Raiga, God of the Monsters. Reigo, King of the Monsters. And then God Raiga and King Oga. I don't know much about these, but they seem to be attempting to create their own monster universe, which is really cool. Can't wait to check that out. Next up, guys, we have silent horror. Let's get through this pretty quick. I actually haven't seen too many of these, but it's a genre I do enjoy periodically. I have seen The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is a wonderful film about a somnambulist who, is under some sort of trance and goes out and starts killing, perpetrate a series of ghastly murders. Yes, so he's hypnotized, a somnambulist here, and he goes around murdering people at the behest of the hypnotizer. And it's a classic film from Germany, 1920. I can't believe it's over 100 years old. It's directed by, I should know this off the top of my head, Robert Weine. And it's a classic for a reason, guys. It's really the film that starts the German Expressionist movement. It starts a couple years before that, I think, but Nosferatu and Caligari really are the culmination of that in the early part of the 20s, which is right on the coattails of World War I and has a severe look to it. Obviously, Germany, did not win that war. Started the war in essentially did not win the war. And thus, the art was reflected as a very severe and shadowy and cruel sort of society that was forming, that would play out over the decade, of course, with incredible complications. Here we have such a cool thing, guys. This is the earliest Italian film that we have complete. 1911. It is the earliest film from Italy that is in complete form or close to complete form, based on the work of Dante's Inferno, or of Dante Alighieri, Dante's Inferno here, which looks like it has some of Gustave Le Bon's imagery that it's inspired by. And it was from 1911, guys. So this is obviously a silent film with some really disturbing imagery. Look at some of this. It uses some of those color filters to evoke certain moods. And I've read, with Le Bon's illustrations, the first book of Dante's Inferno. the Divine Comedy, I should say. And the imagery here is almost one for one. It's really impressive how close they got to it. So I can't wait to watch that, maybe this October. Here we have Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde from 1920, starring John Barrymore, of which I've yet to see. I don't think I've seen any John Barrymore movies, who was a mainstay in the silent horror era. Fantomas, some people say this isn't quite horror. I'm not sure where to put it, but I put it in my silent horror area. Pulp novellas, ambitious Fantomas series became a gold standard of espionage serials in pre-World War I Europe and laid the foundation for such immortal works as Les Vampires and Dr. Mabuse. So yeah, they kind of crime, horror, shadowy, film noir, or proto-film noir. Here we have Faust. I know the story of Faust very well. Most people do, doing a deal with the devil in exchange for something, immortality, whatever it might be, bargaining with the devil, Mephisto. And yeah, this is Murnau's adaptation of Faust. I've yet to see it. The Golem, the famous Jewish folk legend, the Golem here, which is a film that I've yet to see, which is now over 100 years old, which is incredible. Again, it's 1920. There we go. Yeah, so all those films turned 1920, or turned 100 years old about 5 years ago. I've yet to see this. It delves into the Frankenstein myth as well as the Hebrew legend, as it says on the back there. Don't know much about it, but I think it's cool as hell. This one I was gifted to by my friend Ben. The Haunted Castle and the Finances of Grand Duke. The Haunted Castle is the horror film, obviously. And it comes with a bonus flick, which I always appreciate. And let's see. Before plumbing the depths of horror and despair with such films as Nosferatu, Friedrich Wilhelm Murnau. This is Murnau. Okay, this is Murnau. 1921. So he actually did this a year before Nosferatu. So there you go. I think this is more of a mystery film. Kind of reminds me of The Old Dark House. Maybe The Old Dark House was kind of parodying this later on, 10 years later. I'm not exactly sure. It looks really cool, though. Atmospheric, of course, and it's Murnau, so you can't go wrong. I love the work that Flicker Alley does. I need to check in with them, see what else they've done. This is Charles Lawton, Lon Chaney, starring as the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Lawton also played the Hunchback. I have it on Blu-ray somewhere up there. But Lon Chaney, obviously, I haven't seen enough of his films, but known as the Man of a Thousand Faces, who was just transformative in his roles as a myriad of monsters and disfigured and outcast, misfit sort of characters. And Hunchback of Notre Dame is the age-old story of this man living in the bell tower and falling in love with a Romani woman, a gypsy woman, and the trials and tribulations that come from that. Here we have such a cool thing to have in my collection. The Lost World, really where the giant monster idea starts in cinema. It starts with William H. Burroughs probably, and a couple other writers that wrote things like The Land That Time Forgot and The People Time Forgot, things like that. Edgar Rice Burroughs, not William H. Burroughs. Edgar Rice Burroughs, trying to think of some of the... they don't put the original name. Lost World, 1925. Isn't that amazing? This film came out in 1925. Willis O'Brien's cutting-edge animation techniques that he would obviously use for King Kong a little bit later. Arthur Conan Doyle. There we go. Arthur Conan Doyle was the original writer of this, the guy who did Sherlock Holmes most famously, of course. But those late 1800s, early 1900s writers really helped set the foundation for the giant monsters in cinema. And this has some great imagery. It also has some blackface and some things that are definitely, cringy these days, if not laughable because they're so absurd and ridiculous now. But look at that image. Just some great imagery. Obviously, Steven Spielberg was a fan of this film, no question. And Lost World, I'm so gracious to have that and grateful to have that in my collection. The Man Who Laughs, guys, I'm ashamed to say I haven't seen many of these silent films. I really am. 1928, this is where the visage of the Joker comes from. As far as most people understand, this is where the inspiration for the face of the Joker comes from. This guy can't stop smiling after Mr. Sardonicus is a similar kind of thing. And I don't know much about the story of this. I'm sure it deals with vanity and power and all those lovely things that plague us. us humans. Murnau's classic Nosferatu, the one that really put his name on the map in German and horror films just in general. This really made a big impact on the world. And Lucy says this was her first silent horror film, as it was many of us. I'd like to think it was mine as well. So, yeah, ancient movies from the 20s, from the 11s. I know. Isn't it amazing? It's pretty cool. Mickey Mouse started in the 20s. Yep, Jolly Good is pointing out. And Nosferatu is a classic for a reason, guys. Some of the shadow play here, the austere, severe German expressionist shadow play and shadow work and imagery is stark and disturbing and still holds up today in many, many different ways. And some of these techniques are still used today, some of the ones that were laid out in Murnau's Nosferatu. So you can't go wrong with it. I've yet to see Egger's film. I am going to rectify that soon, I promise. But The Phantom of the Opera by Lon Chaney, another one that I've yet to watch. I know, crazy. 1925, this came out. Also, it looks like the theatrical cut is present here, and also the censored cut, I guess, that took away some scenes. I obviously want to see the film in its original form, so I'll do some research and figure out what that is. Again, Lon Chaney, Man of a Thousand Faces. Cagney played him in a movie called The Man of a Thousand Faces, actually. Here we have a Japanese silent horror film, which is, again, so cool. Look at this. Teinosuke Kinugasa. Teinosuke Kinugasa's A Page of Madness. I'm really good with more modern Japanese names because that's what I'm exposed to most. But any of the older ones, the more traditional ones, I need a second to get it right. Teinosuke Kinugasa. Teinosuke Kinugasa. And then Henwar Rodakovich's Portrait of a Young Man. Page of Madness, though, deals with a mental asylum, if I'm not, a mental institution, if I'm not mistaken. Early touchstone of avant-garde cinema, it says there. Kuruta Ichipeiji. Produced in the mid-20s, is widely considered to be the touchstone of early avant-garde cinema, and is also one of the most challenging and narratively complex films of the era from 1926. So I think that is so cool. It is considered horror to some, and so I put it in horror for that reason. Thank you to Flicker Alley for releasing such a cool thing. And guys, oh my God, that is the horror collection. I do feel compelled to talk about, real quick, the Godzilla Criterion collection here, obviously, which I didn't talk about because it's not on the shelf. So I'll just look at this real quick, guys. I'm not going to talk about every Godzilla film. I love them all for different reasons. Look at the great artwork in this Criterion collection, guys. Very happy to have this. Am I a little upset that it's this giant? Yeah, if there was a smaller version, I would probably get it, if I'm being honest. I love that it's giant because it's Godzilla, and I get the symbolism there that is not lost on me. But it does take up a lot of space, and there's nowhere to put it, which is why it's leaning against my NES collection right now. So, unfortunately, what happens here... This is so annoying. So some of these films slip... Yeah, see, this is my problem, guys. You're going to see exactly what my fucking problem is here. This is stuck. This is stuck. And it's going to come out, and it's going to have a bunch of glue on it. Yep. Going to have a bunch of glue on it. That is very poor design. That is ridiculous. I want to use a stronger word, but I won't for the sake of my audience. But yeah, they end up sliding down. They get all this glue stuck to them. I pull them out to go and watch them, and they have all this. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, man, does that piss me off? Does that piss me off? So yeah, I think this was a terrible design choice. This stuff is not easy to get off, too. It is on there. It is awful. Okay, so now that I'm sufficiently angry, I am going to call it on this video. This Godzilla, of course, is probably my favorite out of all of these. The original Godzilla, Destroy All Monsters, I love. I love a lot of those films. But the way it's packaged really, really pisses me off. Meow. All right, guys, so that is going to do it for this final part of the Blu-ray collection overview, guys. Holy crap, it has been a long time coming. I have now officially talked about every single one of my Blu-rays. Now for the DVDs. No, I'm going to be doing that slowly over the years. Most of my DVDs are packed up. DVDs are packed up in the closet right now. But I do have things planned, guys, so stay tuned for all of that. If you're new to the channel and want to see more live streams, there's going to be plenty. I'm planning to make this a bigger live stream channel and still do some edited videos once in a while. I have a big one planned for October, and so I hope you guys stick with me. And I'll be doing these live streams a couple times a week. So I really appreciate every single one of you coming out and watching all of these live streams, especially people like Lucy, Jolly Good, Mr. Ralph Rosa, Mr. Bob, a bunch of names. If I forgot you, please, I didn't mean to forget you. Movie Dude, never thought of Kong Skull Island as an allegory before. I didn't see that message. Sorry, Movie Dude Inc. I'm glad you got something from my commentary there. But yeah, Greg, thank you guys, all of you guys so much for tuning in time after time to check out these Blu-ray overviews. We're going to keep the train rolling with some new ideas. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Feel free to hit that thumbs up, guys. I know it's annoying to hear over and over, but it really does help me. I'm a small channel who doesn't care to be algorithmically friendly. I want to talk about what I want to talk about and accrue an audience curated that I want to accrue, so we could talk about movies freely. You know, expressing any opinions any opinions I'm open to. And I really appreciate and love all of you guys very much. Thank you, Mr. Bob. Love you too, buddy. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate the love. It's very touching, if I'm being honest. And I am an emotional person, so I really do feel that kind of thing. Thank you very much. Again, feel free to hit that thumbs up button. Let's try to get it up to 5 if we can. 5 for the kitty who needs to be fed. I would really appreciate that. Super chats, like I said, if you want to donate to the channel, I also have a Patreon, guys, so feel free to check that out. And donating to the channel will only help the channel get bigger, give me more time to do the channel. That is my ultimate goal. I would love to do this part-time. Full-time's the dream. But talking about cinema full-time would be, or even part-time would be, is definitely a goal of mine. That would be amazing. And I don't really need much money. I'm a very simple man. All of the things I've accrued frugally and by working hard. And I don't need much more. I love my movies. I love my books. I love my games. And I really appreciate all of you very much. And whoops. And so with all that said, I will see you guys next time. Bored Cyborg is out. Thank you, Mr. Bob. I'm glad I'm your favorite YouTuber. That means a lot to me. Peace out.